Affordable and fun are two words that you don't normally see coexist in the automotive world, especially now in 2023. When you're looking at spending at around $30,000 to $40,000, you're going to get maybe a good amount of technology, fuel efficiency, and practicality, but the fun factor is usually lacking. But when it comes to Hyundai, they've always seemed to throw that into the mix, where you are going to get an engaging driving experience, whether it's the Kona, the Veloster, or the model I'm sitting next to, the Elantra. Today, I'm taking a look at the N Line, and for most manufacturers, when they do give their vehicles a sportier name, all you're getting is a more aggressive design. But Hyundai decided to do something a bit different and actually dropped in a fun engine and transmission that I think is definitely going to capture a younger demographic, but also is a perfect car if you are looking at buying a fun sedan at around $30,000. In this video, we're going to go over everything about the Elantra, take a look at the exterior, the interior, take it out for a test drive, and also see why, if you are looking at buying an affordable car right now in 2023, then maybe taking a look at the Hyundai Elantra might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I'd like to thank McGovern Hyundai in Wilmington, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Hyundai inventory. I also want to give a huge shout and thank you to Morgan for helping set up this review so that we can check out the Elantra N Line today. And I'll leave his contact information in the description below as well. Also, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. Long before the beginning of this decade, there's been a craving for affordable performance cars that don't break the bank, but also don't fall short on the expectations that enthusiasts have for vehicles in this market. Hyundai has repeatedly answered the call time and time again with the Kona and Veloster. And while the sportier Elantra has been produced for a handful of years, it feels like the 2023 model for the N Line is more complete. Despite the bar being raised, with horsepower figures climbing into the stratosphere and buyers demanding and expecting to receive the same in a sub $40,000 market, the Elantra sticks to tradition of keeping it simple, while also developing a model that infuses N DNA in a meaningful way where this trim doesn't appear or feel like a gimmick. Starting off with pricing, the Elantra N Line comes in at $27,500, sitting just beneath the N in the lineup. Despite the eagerness to make comparisons to the Honda Civic Si, Hyundai uniquely has a sedan for everyone, whether they're enthusiasts or commuters desiring a little more fun on their way to work. In fact, the Elantra N Line completely reverses on the trend of cheap transportation that's economical, and instead, buyers actually receive a car that's both attainable and desirable all in one package. While many hark back to the days of small compact cars with a manual transmission, the Elantra N Line is somewhat of a retro take on this segment. However, because the N exists, the manual was dropped for 2023, yet the automatic is anything but mediocre. Helping to create excitement for this compact sedan is its outward appearance, as the black exterior paint doesn't do this car justice. From the mesh grille to the enhanced air intakes and to the swooping headlight housings, the Elantra has a design that has its perception of motion while the sedan is stationary. Blending in with the paint, the gloss black accents work wonders on this car to give the Elantra a lower profile appearance. You'll have LED daytime running lights with projector headlights, and with the N Line, high beam assist does come standard. Best of all, from an aesthetics perspective, this trim isn't too far off from the Elantra N, which does inspire you to get behind the wheel and see what this compact sedan is all about. Moving over to the side profile, the N Line will be sitting on 18-inch alloy wheels, while 16s and 17s will be equipped on the other three trims. Setting the N Line apart is the multi-link independent rear suspension, giving the Elantra a stiffer yet more confidence-inspiring handling and cornering ability that injects fun into the driving experience. As a result, the ride quality is a bit harsher, but we wouldn't want it any other way, as cars in this segment usually feel disconnected from the road. More noticeable on other exterior colors offered for 2023, gloss black side mirror caps continues the color contrast on this model, and you'll have blind spot detection for added safety. Then coming around to the back, the reshaped rear diffuser and chrome dual exhaust tips add some sportier characteristics on this model. And of course, you can't forget about the subtle deck lid spoiler that molds perfectly with the body lines of the rear fascia. A signature look for Hyundai, the light bar that runs the length of the rear end does make the Elantra look wider, but also shows its relation to its larger sibling, the Sonata. Under the hood, the Elantra N Line is powered by a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. While you will be sacrificing some creature comforts, what you receive in terms of performance is difficult to pass up, as Hyundai is one of few brands that has a compelling compact sedan that doesn't just look more dynamic through cosmetic enhancements, but instead it's a nice middle ground where you get a taste of what the N offers without spending over $30,000. Better yet, its affordability in conjunction with an exclusive powertrain and beloved transmission for this trim adds to the incentives the Elantra is already known for. Of course, for a compact sedan, front-wheel drive does come standard, but where the N Line continues its appeal is with the fuel economy of 28 miles per gallon in the city and 36 miles per gallon on the highway, which is still economical for this class. Stepping inside, this is where you'll be compromising on comfort, as you have heated cloth seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side being power adjustable. While we believe it's a small price to pay for a more engaging car, it should be worth mentioning that if you opted for the Limited, you'd have leather upholstery instead, if that's something you demand in your next car. In terms of refinement and quality, these seats are firmly bolstered, fitting the race car-like driving environment you won't find in competitors. Directly ahead of you is a full digital gauge cluster, which is the same display that's placed in most new Hyundai products today. And by using the buttons mounted on the leather-wrapped steering wheel, you can customize the information that's being showcased. And by pressing the drive mode button placed to the left of this screen, the theme will change to fit the personality of each mode. Then moving over to the infotainment system, you'll have a 10.2-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with onboard navigation and the Bose premium audio system. What we found impressive for a user interface in this segment is the resolution and responsiveness is actually similar to what you'd experience with Audi's MMI head unit, as some systems do lag at this price point. Typical for a mainstream brand, this infotainment system isn't too complicated, and you'll have quick access buttons mounted below to get you to different menus efficiently, and you'll also have a dial for the volume. To the delight of most shoppers, physical dials and buttons for the dual zone climate control, AC, and fan speed are placed within arm's reach, so you're not wasting time accessing these functions through the screen. As always, you will have a rear backup camera with trajectory to go along with rear cross traffic alert. Making our way towards the center console, a wireless phone charging pad does come standard, and you'll find 2 USB inputs. For the center storage compartment, you'll have plenty of room for a wallet, smartphone, or other smaller items. And rounding out the front seating area, above will be a power moonroof, which lets in some natural light to the interior.
Now moving on to the second row, we're going to sit off on the passenger side. And this seat's been adjusted all the way back for demonstrational purposes and somewhat on a recline. And I have about maybe 2 or 3 inches of legroom remaining, which is pretty impressive for a car of this size. What I've noticed with the Elantra is that interior spacing really gives you the room that you need if you do have a growing family. And that's not something I would typically say for a car in this market, because I would recommend going with a subcompact crossover or maybe a hatchback. But the Elantra gives you the interior space of a hatchback while still giving you the streamlined looks that you want in this market, especially for a sportier car. If you're an average size adult at around 5'8" or 5'9", you won't be hitting your head on the headliner. Also, you won't feel claustrophobic at all, which I think is really great to see for a car in this price range and market. Then moving on to the center seat, you are going to have some great placements for your feet, but the center hump is somewhat aggressive, which will take away from the legroom and shoulder room. But for a car of this size, you don't really expect to fit a third person back here, but maybe in a squeeze or a pinch, you could definitely do that with a smaller child. So keep all of that in mind, but most likely if you are looking at buying an Elantra N Line, this is going to be a sporty daily driver for you, and you're probably not prioritizing comfort for the second row. Then, on the driver's side, this seat is adjusted to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have a good amount of legroom here where I can still sit back here, relax, and enjoy the driving experience. Also, one thing to mention as well is that even though these are cloth seats, they provide a good amount of support and some decent bolstering for the second row, so you'll feel pretty comfortable back here for sure. Now, not surprising, we don't have rear air vents for the second row, nor do we have a USB or USB-C input. But rounding out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, coming around to the back, no surprises here, you're not going to have a power trunk. However, if you press and hold on the key fob, it does pop open, which is pretty convenient because if you are walking to your car when you go to the grocery store and you have those in your hand, this way it's a bit easier to open up that trunk. But inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right on 14 cubic feet of room, which falls right in line with all of its competitors, such as the Honda Civic, Mazda 3, and is better than the Toyota Corolla. So if you are going on a road trip with the family, I think you could probably fit 3, 4, 5 bags of luggage back here, which is pretty impressive for a compact sedan. I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problem. So that's 2 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod, and still have plenty of room to throw in a couple more items. Also, this cargo area is deceptive because, of course, with a smaller car, you think, how much could you possibly fit back here? But it is rather wide, so you can fit longer items. And really, if this is just going to be your only car and your daily driver, it is pretty practical. Then with the second row seats full, you'll have additional space for some longer items. Maybe if you are going on a road trip or a camping trip, you can fit all your equipment back here, no problem. And you'll have the tabs on both sides of the cargo area to release those second row seats. More impressive, however, is that beneath the floor mat, you will find a spare tire. So if you do encounter a flat on your road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. And finally, for the moment we've all been waiting for, let's take the Elantra N out for a test drive. Always a good way to start off the reviews. Remember the days when 200 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque was more than enough for a car in this market? I feel like a lot of people now look at a car like this and say, well, it's not sporty enough, it's not fun enough, I'd rather go with the Elantra N instead of the N Line. But for $29,000, you're getting a car that really, in my mind, is one, a heck of a value proposition. Because for one, it has the N Line moniker. And when you think of other manufacturers that have done the same in the past, really all you get is that sportier and more aggressive design. You don't necessarily get anything else that really sets it apart from the more pedestrian version. I'm thinking vehicles like the S-Line for Audi, and even, Mercedes-Benz with the AMG line for just a regular, say, C300 or GLC 300. But at least for Hyundai, with the Elantra, you get a great engine and I think a great transmission. There's not too many vehicles out there that gives you a dual clutch in this market, let alone say a ZF8 speed or anything else that's going to be anywhere close to being sporty or aggressive. And yet that's exactly what you have here with this car. Now, I am starting off in sport mode. Personally, that would be the drive mode I would be in at all times, as I do the same with my Volkswagen GTI. And what I love right off the bat is the fact that the steering is very tight and aggressive, and there is feedback. This car, to a certain degree, feels a bit old school compared to what you see nowadays in the automotive market, whether it is at around $30,000 or 40 or 50 grand, because even the way the leather-wrapped steering wheel feels with the aggressive 10, 2 positions, but also very firm 9 and 3, it just feels like a car that
maybe came out 10 years ago, and that's not a bad thing at all because you still have the full digital gauge cluster and nice infotainment system, but this just gives you a taste of what the past used to be compared to where we are now, where a lot of the cars feel numb, boring, and sedated. And with the Hyundai Elantra N Line, this is far from that. This is a very fun little car where the suspension has been firmed up compared to other models in the Elantra lineup, so about 20% stiffness in suspension rigidity, and you certainly feel that. And I think a lot of that is enhanced by the seats as well, where the way the seating is positioned and they're bolstered, you feel like you're in a true sports car. It's very difficult to find a vehicle like that, brand new, under $30,000, that gives you those sensations. Of course, with the Elantra N Line being a compact sedan, you're not going to sit too high up in this vehicle, and that kind of plays around with your vision that you have here to work with when you are behind the wheel. However, you feel as one with the chassis of the car, really enhancing the fact that this car is sporty and it's supposed to be fun. Now, when it does come to front vision, you have a nice panoramic view. A-pillars are rather thin, so I don't think you worry about having blind spots when you are approaching intersections. Then taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's in my blind spots. And taking a look out back, of course, with the sloping rear fascia, that might take away from some visibility, but I can see the RAV4 that's directly behind me. What is surprising me here about the Elantra is that interior insulation is pretty top-notch for a car under $30,000. You're not really hearing a lot of the road noise. The four-cylinder does have a nice sound to it. It's not too aggressive, not too loud. It doesn't drone at all, especially with the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. Also, some of that could be the exhaust note as well entering the cabin, but the insulation is pretty nice, and you don't hear a lot of that outside world. So it does add to the isolation that you have here behind the wheel, where you can just enjoy a longer drive or a weekly commute. One thing you've probably heard me say already, and maybe one more time throughout this review, is that I believe the Elantra N Line is more than just being an alternative to a Honda Civic Si and other sportier cars in this segment, mostly because you get the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. And for most cars with this amount of horsepower and pound-feet of torque, you kind of need to go with that manual to have any type of engagement. But because you have the 7-speed dual clutch, that is a bit of a game changer, because not a lot of people drive manual these days in 2023, and maybe they're apprehensive of hopping into a Honda Civic Si. Whereas with the Elantra N, you have a great transmission where you can engage the paddle shifters, which we will be doing once we get on the highway, but also you have a car that gives you that sportiness that you're looking for, but also the practicality that comes along with a car of this size. So let's get on the highway here. I am in manual mode. Let's see what the 7-speed dual clutch is made of. The suspension is so tight here. Very little body roll as well. Oh, there's plenty of kick to the accelerations. The 7-speed is so nice in this car. It's engaging. The gear shifts are aggressive. There is a bit of some pullback when you are accelerating. And you don't get that with a lot of transmissions in this market, including the Mazda 3 with the 6-speed. This is a true baby Elantra N, and I was not expecting that at all. Plenty of torque to pass slower drivers. And really, it's the whole package that this car is offering. It's not just the accelerations, it's not just the gear shifts, it's also the suspension as well, how firm it is, and how connected you feel to the roadways. Because I feel I'm in a sports car. I feel planted. I feel as one with the road. And it's so rare to see a car like this in 2023 that gives you these sensations. It's so uncommon to come across a car like this where I can't help but smile. Even though it's a short test drive, to have that type of experience immediately is something that I think really goes a long way, and really is quite impressive for my first impressions towards this car. Really gives me a taste and really a desire into experiencing the Elantra N. And the brakes, very strong brakes as well, gives you a lot of confidence, where I think you could actually go on some back roads, some canyon roads, and really enjoy your time behind the wheel of this car. It's a great daily commuter, but I think also a car that is of great value for its price point. And since we're heading back towards the dealership, I'm gonna put the Elantra N back in normal mode. And even in normal mode, the steering, nice and firm, has a nice feel to it. And a lot of this can be attributed to the fact that Hyundai and Kia have a guy who worked for BMW, the M division, engineering these cars and having a lot of input on that, and it certainly shows. When you look at what Hyundai is providing right now across the board, whether it is their Elantra N, Kona N, or just even a Palisade or Santa Fe, it really has a Euro feel to them. The vehicles, when it comes to the technology, when it comes to the design, even the driving dynamics, is very Euro-like, and that's one of the reasons why Hyundai and Korean brands in general have really changed the game for this segment and market, where I think a lot of buyers are demanding these same features, these same driving and handling characteristics in vehicles from Japan and also America as well. And I think that's where Hyundai and Kia really have a great value proposition at their price points, and also I think are a bit of a steal in their segments, because you can walk out of the showroom with a car under $30,000 that has, in my opinion, a great turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, but also it's paired with a phenomenal 7-speed dual clutch. And you're only going to get a dual clutch from Volkswagen, where the GTI is kind of expensive these days, especially with the Mark 8. So if you're looking for a brand new car that isn't going to break the bank, the Elantra N Line, I think, is a phenomenal package.
So to quickly wrap up this review, the 2023 Hyundai Elantra N Line is one of those cars that I think is a great all-around value. It's also more than just being a Honda Civic Si alternative, especially when you take a look at what this car is providing. So for one, you do get a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, which I think is one of the best transmissions right now in this price range. But also, if you're somebody who doesn't like CVTs or the IVT that comes with the lower trims for the Elantra, you're gonna love the N Line, because for one, you get a transmission that is engaging and fun, but also you get a better engine under the hood. Also, if you're somebody who's just looking for a comfortable daily commuter, you get that as well with the N Line. You get a full digital gauge cluster, nice infotainment system, and even though you don't get leather trimmed seats, the cloth seats provide a good amount of support and bolstering, and also I love the positioning as well. Definitely sets the tone for what this car is providing and offering. Also, a good amount of practicality in interior space, which makes this car family friendly as well. If you're somebody that is on a stricter budget at around $30,000, take a look at the Elantra N Line, because I think you're going to be very impressed with what Hyundai is offering right now in this segment. But also what you receive, I think, is a lot of features, a lot of technology, and that fun factor that has been lacking in this market for quite some time. And I think that's why Hyundai has certainly drawn in a lot of enthusiasts throughout the years with the Kona, the Veloster, and the Elantra, and this is a nice taste of what you can expect for a full Elantra N. So I think that the Elantra N Line is that nice balance that a lot of people are looking for right now, but also more than just being that alternative to some of the performance cars in this price range and market. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.